Hi and welcome. It's just another day of soup in the White House. Mary's out today. I'm Brian Karem. I'm sitting in for her. And today the White House announced a $200 million renovation of the East Wing to build a grand ballroom. Judges are arguing over tariffs. Trump looked befuddled in an event in the Roosevelt Room. And the White House briefed for the first time this week, where the PEP secretary, Carolyn Leavitt, demanded Trump get a Nobel Peace Prize, as she ranted for about 22 minutes and took questions for about 10. So let's dive in. Hi, guys, and welcome back to Mary Trump Media Live. Today, Donald Trump signed an executive order to reinstate the presidential physical fitness program. Seems innocent enough, right? Well, not for Donald. He can't pass it. But anyway, even the press conference, this seemingly simple executive order, the press conference was a mess with his dementia, on full display. Okay, mental decline, whatever you want to call it. First, Donald was totally unintelligible. And then trying to talk about his good friend, WWE fighter Triple H, Trump, well, hell, he seemed confused.
14-time WWE world champion, and he's a man who you're not going to mess around with. Even Bryson said, I think I'll take a pass on him, right? You're going to take. And he's another one who's been my friend for a long time. He's really an amazing athlete, Triple H. Triple H, there he is. Oh, that's still very strong. He's a strong guy. And it's great to have you. And you felt very strongly about this, about the council.
He's a great friend. He just doesn't know who he is. But he loves his biceps. Donald always does that. He often will make comments about, the masculinity of his of his guest. Anyway, what can I tell you? Triple H was, literally standing right there, Donnie, and he still couldn't figure out, what he was or who he was with. Meanwhile, it turns out everyone in the room was just as confused as Donald Trump was. None of the athletes seemed to know what was going on. Take a look.
You want to say a few words? Come on up. Come on. He's a little shy, but once he gets going, nobody can stop.
Oh, no, that don't stop. I'm just proud to be on this team. I don't know why. I don't know what we're supposed to be doing, but I'm here to serve, and I'm here to serve you. Okay, so I'm going to do the best I can for as long as I can. Thank you very much.
Nobody like him.
Maybe they were confused because that worm in Robert Kennedy Jr.'s head went somewhere else. Other heads. Anyway, Trump has an entire staff at his disposal. The athletes are standing in front of the press, apparently to get a briefing, and you don't even know why they're there. That would be embarrassing to most presidents, but not to Donald. He doesn't care. But let's face it, as I'm a reporter, and I'm telling you, we suffer through these boring, silly signing ceremonies for one reason, and one reason alone, and that's to get him to answer questions about Jeffrey Epstein. And thankfully, today, one of us broached that subject.
Family of Virginia Giuffre released a statement overnight in response to some of the comments that you made this week. You said that Jeffrey Epstein stole people from Mar-a-Lago. At the time, did you know why he was taking those young women, including Virginia?
No, I didn't know. I would figure it was ABC fake news that would ask that question, one of the worst. But no, I don't know really why. But I said if he's taking anybody from Mar-a-Lago, he's hiring or whatever he's doing. I didn't like it, and we threw him out. We said we don't want him, at the place. This is a story that's been known for many years, as you know. But it's I didn't like it that he was doing that. Yeah.
Sure, Donald. Insult the reporter, deflect from the fact that they asked you a very salient question. And the question was based on correct reporting, based on what Donald Trump himself said. That Jeffrey Epstein stole people like they were possessions from Mar-a-Lago. And the fact that Epstein's victim, Virginia Giuffre, was the Mar-a-Lago employee that Epstein stole from Donald Trump raises a very important question. And don't forget this question ever. Donald said on many occasions he knew that Epstein liked young girls. Jeffrey was a young girl. Trump knows Epstein stole her like a possession. So why didn't Trump ever alert the authorities? Why did he never say anything to anyone about this? Answer that, Mr. President. That's the question you must answer. And then no presidential presser would be complete without a graceful, dignified exit by Donnie.
Can I ask you about Mr. President? Can I ask you about
Oh, that's gotta hurt. What can I tell you? It looks like Donald has another bruise on his body this evening. Anyway, if Joe Biden slid into senility, I want to tell you something. Donald Trump has taken a cannonball into the deep end. I covered him in the first administration. I'm seeing him now. He's not the same guy that he was then. He's confused. He's befuddled. And by God, he's not telling us the truth, which he never did. But now what's funny is because of his befuddlement, because of his decline, sometimes, like when he was speaking before a travel pool when he was in Scotland, he occasionally will drop a truth bomb, like with Virginia Guthrie. Anyway, so Donald loves to brag about cutting government spending by rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse. As we all know, he unleashed Doge at the start of his term to deal with those issues. So let's do a quick check on how his government efficiently has conducted its efforts as of today. Today, ABC News reported that the federal government is paying more than 154,000 federal employees not to work as part of the deferred resignation program. The updated figure includes thousands of government workers across dozens of agencies who took the buyout offers through June to maintain benefits and pay until the end of the fiscal year on September 30th. It represents just over 6% of the 2.3 million federal civilian workforce. Donald's idea of draining the swamp is ridiculous. It's paying over 150,000 federal workers to not work. That's not cutting or draining the swamp. While bragging about saving money, it's not that either. It's chaos in a blender, disguised as cost cutting. And like everything he touches, it's burning taxpayer dollars and gutting the government from the inside while doing no one any benefits. Can you say FEMA? Can you say climate change? Can you say NOAA? Can you say the National Weather Service? All of those things he's cutted, he's had to bring back. Never mind the fact that the government also advertised to hire more IRS workers today. You know, he cut a bunch of them. Now he apparently needs them back to get the money that the government needs to operate. Everything this man touches turns to the proverbial shit demon in the movie Dogma. Look it up. Anyway, with so many of Donald's erratic actions, we ask ourselves, how is this legal? And the answer is it's probably not legal. What can I tell you? Donald's battle with the courts continue as judges across the country push back against his presidential overreach. The latest blow, Trump tariffs. One of at least 7 lawsuits challenging the authority to impose tariffs without congressional approval reached the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit today, and the judges simply aren't buying Trump. The panel of 11 appellate court judges expressed broad skepticism over the legal rationale for his tariffs, and they seemed unconvinced by Donald's lawyers and their insistence that he could impose tariffs without congressional approval through the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEEPA, for those who need to know. Federal Circuit Judge Jimmy Reyna said IEEPA doesn't even mention the word tariffs anywhere. The issue now rests with the appeals judges as Donald's deadline to enact tariffs on various countries looms tomorrow. That's a self-imposed deadline, by the way. But while these judges are fighting for what's right against Donald, the DOJ, and various agencies, they're facing newfound death threats, doxing, and various forms of intimidation since ruling against Donald and the DOJ. And you want to know why? I'll tell you. That's because Donald Trump continues, and I've gotten these emails, he continues to send out emails to his supporters, riling them up and asking them and demanding to know, quote, do you support me or some activist judge? And that's all he needs to do to get his people rolling. Since Donald has been elected and faced court battles for his often illegal policies, he's lashed out with harsh criticisms for judges he sees as stymieing his political agenda, much like he calls us fake media when he gets pissed off at us. And in return, threats against federal judges have skyrocketed. He and allies lash out against U.S. District Judge James Boasberg, who had blocked the administration's efforts to swiftly deport Venezuelan nationals to El Salvador. They lash out against Chief Judge John McConnell Jr., who back in February ordered the White House to pull back its attempts to freeze federal funding. When it came to McConnell, Elon Musk, remember Elon Musk? At the time, he was a White House employee and not an out-of-work guy who makes a bad car. He called for McConnell's impeachment. Representative Andy Ogles from Tennessee put his face on a wanted poster. Didn't put his face, he put McConnell's face on a wanted poster of other judges in front of his office. And American First Legal, an ally of Donald, filed a judicial misconduct claim. Today, at a forum for a group called Speak Up for Justice, Judge McConnell recounted the fact that his court received over 400 threatening voice emails, 6 credible death threats, and pizzas were delivered to his home because, quote, they wanted to let us know they knew where we lived, he said. I hope it was a decent pizza. Anyway, and the judges attending this forum were clear about what needed to happen. Donald must stop the attacks. Esther Salas, U.S. District Court judge in New Jersey, said at the forum, and I quote, now it's at a level that I have to honestly say is different. We're seeing things coming from the top down, from White House spokespeople calling us crazy, leftist, unconstitutional judges. But if you think Donald Trump's going to stop, think again. Donald Trump does not care what others think. He only cares about himself and what he can get away with. Everything else is transactional. I've seen it myself. Always has been, always will be. Congress has bowed, higher education and the press have bowed to him. The only part of our government still actively putting up a fight is the judiciary, and Donald Trump controls the Supreme Court. Imagine where this is going. Meanwhile, U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today. Reuters reported additional details saying, quote, Witkoff arrived with Israel facing mounting international pressure over the widespread destruction of Gaza and constraints on aid in the territory, with Canada the latest Western power to say it will recognize a Palestinian state. Israel on Wednesday sent a response to Hamas, their latest amendments to a U.S. proposal that would see a 60-day ceasefire and the release of some hostages in exchange for Palestinian prisoners. There was no immediate comment from Hamas. And this afternoon, I told you about that one press availability this week. Presidential PEP Secretary Caroline Leavitt confirmed that Witkoff's next stop will be Gaza. Take a look.
President Trump is a humanitarian with a big heart, and that's why he sent Special Envoy Witkoff to the region in an effort to save lives and end this crisis. Tomorrow, Special Envoy Witkoff and Ambassador Huckabee will be traveling into Gaza to inspect the current distribution sites and secure a plan to deliver more food and meet with local Gazans to hear firsthand about this dire situation on the ground.
Yeah. A humanitarian with a big heart who wants to put immigrants in concentration camps in the United States, but he's going to reach out to Gaza. If you believe that, I've got a bridge I'll sell you pretty cheap. While Gaza's humanitarian crisis deepens, Donald is still doing what he always does, performing for his base instead of taking meaningful action. He never will take meaningful action, by the way. He claims he's made all these 90 deals in 90 days. He has framework for deals. He hasn't done those either. Anyway, sending a real estate crony like Witkoff to the area to manage a historic humanitarian disaster shows that Donald is not serious about saving lives or stopping the violence. Meanwhile, he is busy posting ultimatums to Hamas on Truth Social. For example, the fastest way to end the humanitarian crisis in Gaza is for Hamas to surrender and release the hostages. Now, here's a fact worth noting. Hamas probably doesn't read Donald Trump's Truth Socials. Let's be honest. Trump could pressure Israel to limit its strikes, open aid routes, and accept a ceasefire. if Trump really cared about humanitarian aid, he could pressure the Israelis. Instead, he's going to blame those in Gaza and Hamas exclusively. And Hamas has done its fair share of deviltry, mind you, but this stance allows the violence to continue by the Israelis on the innocent Palestinians. It's not going to affect Hamas. And it keeps U.S. weapons flowing to the Israeli military, too. That's always a nice thing. And make no mistake, it's Democrats, not the Republicans, or Trump's allies, who are leading the charge to rein in the war and ask for a ceasefire. Last night, the U.S. Senate voted on 2 resolutions that would have blocked arms sales to Israel in response to the staggering civilian death toll in Gaza. The resolutions introduced by Senator Bernie Sanders failed 73-24 and 70-27. But they gained more support than similar measures earlier this year. All of Donald's Republican allies voted against the effort, even as Canada and France moved toward recognizing a Palestinian state. By the way, that also angered Donald Trump. So with that said, dun, 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 it's time for your emotional support moment. Don't we all need one? We made it to Thursday, everybody. Relax. Yesterday, we took a look at honeybees as they gathered pollen to make bee bread. Okay, to feed the baby bees. But today, we have a special request from Mary. I'm personally adverse to bees unless it's in the bee movie. They make the honey while we make the money. Yes, that's my that's my callback. My kids watched that movie when I was younger, and I always loved it. Anyway, let's take a look at how bees are born in this video from the folks at the National Geographic.
Here is a bee egg as it hatches into a larva. Those newly hatched larvae swim around their cells, feeding on a liquid food that nurse bees secrete for them. Then their head and their legs start to differentiate as they transform into pupae. Here's that same pupation process seen from above with varroa mites running around in the cells. Next, the tissue reorganizes in their body and the pigment slowly develops in their eyes. In the last step, their skin shrivels up and they sprout hair.
I would say that reminds me of a lot of Republicans being born in Congress, but I don't want to insult the honeybees. They actually do something that's helpful to society. I kid often, but I am a beekeeper, so because honey is important and pollination is important. The Republicans in Congress, not so much. Anyway, let's take a look at what you guys have to say today. The hell with me. Hal Schwalbe, I hope I pronounced it right. You're a new member. Thanks for joining us. Greg Bender, $2. Can MTM give Bullshit Barbie a Donald Duck voice? I've been in the briefing room, and I tell you, she already has one to me. Actually, she sounds a little like, I don't know, she like Barbie on acid. Anyway, can you imagine how tacky the White House is going to look with the new ballroom? Wake up, everyone. He has no plans to move out. His plans for his face on Mount Rushmore give me strength. Gay, I can't pronounce your last name. I'm not going to try, but I feel you because that's exactly what reporters at the White House were saying today. Wake up. He has no plans to move out. He plans to live there for the rest of his life. 1,268 days left to go in our countdown to liberty. Donald Trump's reign of terror continues at the White House. And now, just so he doesn't get asked questions about Jeff Epstein, he's going to spend $200 million to renovate the East Room, put in a ballroom. And by the way, First Lady and her staff won't be able to use the East Wing while they're doing it. Anyway, she's not there anyway. From Mission Hard 100, doesn't he have better things to do than social postings? Well, what can I tell you? This president rules by social postings. As a member of the press, the first thing we do in the morning, We don't, with most presidents, I'm going to be honest with you, most presidents, the first thing you do in the morning is check what has been issued by the White House press staff. And they will issue guidance where the president is going, what's going to happen today, statements from the administration, statements from the cabinet. We get none of that with Donald Trump. We get postings on Truth Social, and that's how he governs, by post. Fact. Lisa S., how she didn't spontaneously combust when she said Trump is a humanitarian with a big heart is beyond me. Well, remember George Costanza in Seinfeld? It isn't a lie if you believe it. So I will tell you that it usually is a lie. She usually does believe it, and she doesn't want to be confronted by us who ask questions about it. In fact, this administration, more over any other administration I've covered since Ronald Reagan, is very adept and very professional at making sure he doesn't answer questions and we're not in a position to ask them. That's how this guy rolls. So the big heart part, you're never going to. From Nola Jen, are they going to build a Trump rubble beachfront? I don't know. Here's my thought. I'd like to take every single Trump tower and turn it into homeless housing. I think that's the right way. I would like to see it condemned by the U.S. government and turned into homeless housing. What can I tell you? But that's just me. What do I know? Jenny Hodgkins' question, did anyone hear about Canada's PM today? If Taco doesn't agree to the agreement that PM Carney wants to make in September, he's going to announce that Canada will recognize Palestine. Yes, and Donald Trump was angry about that. He said as he was walking out of that, what we saw the visual of him, the video of him walking out of the Roosevelt Room meeting, he did say something. He didn't like it, but he said it wasn't a deal breaker. So we'll wait and see. We still have to, he could change his mind 30 seconds from now if he has a hamburger that doesn't agree with him. Susan Thompson, thank you for the $10. Thank you for being our guest host. Well, thank you for having me, Susan. I appreciate it. Special announcement, no book club today. Please see post for rescheduling. Mary sends her deepest apologies. Kathleen Taylor, hopefully Jackie is haunting Melania. It kills me that this is going to be the most expensive renovation in the White House in years. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was there today. What history that the Kennedy family represents, and what a beautiful thing that Jackie Kennedy did in turning that into a rose garden, and what a complete shit show Donald Trump is turning it into. It's like a patio at a Shriners convention or something that would be at Mar-a-Lago. He's probably going to have gold leaf next. I can't tell you how disgusting it is to see. So listen, folks, I want to, thank you, Mercedes. I want to thank everybody for having me here today. It's always a pleasure to be with you guys. My best to my little sister, Mary. I love her to death. Thanks for letting me sit in, Mary. We will have fun. You can catch me on my podcast in its 7th year is called Just Ask the Question, wherever fine podcasts are sold. And you can catch me every Friday in Salon. So thanks for joining us. Oh, and it's Substack. I always forget that. But thanks for joining us, guys, and we will catch you next time.